just don't know when to give up, do you?
You're gonna do this all day.
Captain America, the First Avenger, opens not in the chaos of World War II, but in the frozen wastelands of the Arctic. A modern military expedition uncovers the wreckage of an old aircraft buried deep beneath the layers of ice. Inside, they discover a circular shield painted with red, white, and blue, the unmistakable symbol of Captain America.
What is it? My God.
This discovery sets the stage for a journey back in time, revealing how an ordinary man became a legend. The story shifts to Brooklyn, New York, in 1942, at the height of World War II. Steve Rogers is introduced as a physically frail, chronically ill young man with a long list of medical conditions that prevent him from joining the U.S. Army. He is short, underweight, asthmatic, and prone to injury. But what Steve lacks in physical strength, he makes up for with unyielding determination and a strong moral compass. Despite being repeatedly rejected from military enlistment, Steve refuses to give up. He believes deeply in standing up against bullies, regardless of the odds. His closest friend, James "Bucky" Barnes, is everything Steve is not: tall, strong, confident, and already enlisted in the Army. Bucky tries to protect Steve, often pulling him out of trouble, but Steve's stubborn courage frequently lands him in fights he cannot win.
You just don't know when to give up, do you?
You're gonna do this all day.
One evening, after another failed attempt to enlist, Steve and Bucky attend the Stark Expo, a grand technological showcase hosted by the brilliant inventor Howard Stark. The expo represents hope, progress, and American ingenuity during a time of global uncertainty. Bucky has been enlisted to join the 107th Division of the Army, and as he prepares to ship out for war, Steve quietly struggles with feelings of inadequacy, believing he should be fighting alongside his friend instead of being left behind.
Bucky, come on, there are men laying down their lives. I got no right to do any less than them. That's what you don't understand.
Unbeknownst to Steve, his persistence has caught the attention of Dr. Abraham Erskine, a German scientist working for the Strategic Scientific Reserve, also known as SSR, a covert allied organization dedicated to advanced wartime research. Dr. Erskine believes that the war cannot be won by weapons alone, but by the character of the men who wield them. Erskine invites Steve to participate in a top-secret government experiment known as the Super Soldier Project. Though Steve is skeptical at first, he agrees after learning that the project aims to create not just stronger soldiers, but better ones. Men who fight with honor, restraint, and compassion. Steve is transported to a hidden military facility where he meets key figures who will shape his destiny. Peggy Carter, a skilled British intelligence officer, oversees the operation alongside Colonel Chester Phillips, who openly doubts Steve's suitability for the program. To test Steve's character, Colonel Phillips stages a mock crisis by throwing a grenade into the training area. While other candidates scatter in fear, Steve instinctively dives onto the grenade, sacrificing himself to save others.
Grenade! Get away! Get back!
The grenade turns out to be harmless, but the act proves Steve's worth. He is chosen as the final candidate for the Super Soldier experiment. The night before the experiment, Erskine visits Steve and explains that a high-ranking Nazi officer named Schmidt forced him to hand over an early, unperfect version of the serum. Schmidt believed the serum would make him a superior man, but because the formula was not yet ready, it caused severe physical disfigurement, turning his skin red and his face into a grotesque skull-like appearance. Embracing his monstrous transformation, Schmidt abandons Hitler's ideology, believing Hydra should rule the world through fear and superior power. Erskine reveals the serum's most critical side effect. It amplifies everything that is already inside a person. He famously tells Steve, "Good becomes great and bad becomes worse."
Good becomes great. Bad becomes worse.
Because Schmidt was already ambitious and malevolent, the serum magnified those traits into absolute megalomania and evil. The procedure itself is intense and dangerous. Steve is injected with the Super Soldier Serum, a chemical formula designed to enhance the human body to its peak potential. Immediately afterward, he is exposed to a powerful dose of Vita rays, a critical component of the process. As the procedure takes effect, Steve's body undergoes a dramatic transformation. His frail frame expands, muscles forming and strengthening at an accelerated rate.
Shut it down!
Kill the actors! No! I can do this!
Steve Rogers stands reborn, taller, stronger, and faster than any man before him. However, the triumph is short-lived. A Hydra spy embedded within the facility assassinates Dr. Erskine, destroying the remaining serum and ensuring that Steve is the only successful super soldier. The spy flees even after being hit by Peggy, but Steve gives chase, displaying his newfound abilities for the first time. Although Steve captures the assassin, the man commits suicide using a cyanide capsule.
Hail Hydra!
With Erskine dead and the serum lost, the military leadership becomes cautious. They are unwilling to risk Steve in direct combat. Instead, they see him as a symbol, a morale booster rather than a soldier. Steve is given a costume designed to resemble the American flag and is introduced to the public as Captain America. He tours the country, performing in exaggerated stage shows, selling war bonds, and the money from the war bonds provide financial support for the army. While crowds cheer and children idolize him, Steve grows increasingly frustrated. He longs to fight alongside real soldiers, not perform scripted routines while others risk their lives overseas. His interactions with Peggy Carter become more emotionally complex during this time. Peggy respects Steve's integrity and strength of character, and hence motivates him to be something more than a dancing monkey. But as soon as he gets to know that the 107th Infantry soldiers have been captured by Hydra, he springs into action to save his friend, Bucky.
Your audience contained what was left of the 107th. The rest were killed or captured.
The 107th?
Across the Atlantic, a darker story unfolds. Johann Schmidt, now the leader of Hydra, seeks power beyond conventional warfare. Obsessed with ancient relics and mystical energy, Schmidt targets an ancient church where he believes an Asgardian relic, the jewel of Odin's treasure room, is hidden. Schmidt confronts the church keeper, who initially tries to mislead him with a decoy, but his cunning eyes see through the facade and identifies a hidden compartment behind a wooden mural depicting Yggdrasil, the world tree. Ignoring the church keeper's warning that the artifact is not for mortal eyes, Schmidt kills the man and orders the destruction of the village to secure the Tesseract for Hydra's weapons program.
You cannot control the power you hold. You will burn! I already have.
Using the Tesseract, Schmidt develops advanced energy weapons capable of mass destruction.
This will change the war.
Meanwhile, disobeying direct orders, Steve infiltrates a Hydra facility alone, using his shield and physical prowess to rescue imprisoned soldiers. Inside the base, he discovers Bucky, alive but injured, along with hundreds of other prisoners. Steve successfully frees them, marking his first real combat mission as Captain America. The rescue proves Steve's value as a soldier. Colonel Phillips and the SSR officially authorize Steve to lead combat operations against Hydra. Steve forms a specialized strike team composed of elite soldiers, including Bucky and some other prominent soldiers. Together, they launch a series of strategic assaults on Hydra installations across Europe, disrupting weapon production and supply lines. During these missions, Steve's leadership style becomes clear. He leads from the front, never asking his team to do anything he would not do himself. His reputation spreads rapidly, turning Captain America into a symbol of hope for Allied forces and fear for Hydra. And at the same time, makes Schmidt so furious that he begins killing his own men who survived Steve's assault. Inside the base, Steve is met by an attractive female officer who admires him and pulls him in for a kiss. But this is caught by Peggy, and a few moments later while Steve is checking his new vibranium shield, this happens.
What do you think?
Yes, I think it works.
Meanwhile, Peggy Carter remains behind as an intelligence officer, coordinating operations. The bond between Steve and Peggy deepens, filled with unspoken feelings and missed opportunities brought on by the demands of war. During a critical mission to capture Johann Schmidt, Steve and his team assault a Hydra train transporting weapons through the Alps. But disaster strikes when Arnim Zola, a Hydra scientist, activates advanced defenses. In the chaos, Bucky is knocked from the train and falls into the abyss below. Steve watches helplessly, believing he has lost his closest friend, but they still manage to capture Zola. This loss devastates him, reinforcing the brutal reality of war and the personal cost of heroism, and Peggy tries her best to keep him motivated. With the war nearing its end, Hydra prepares its ultimate strike. Schmidt plans to use Tesseract-powered aircraft to bomb major cities across the globe, wiping out governments and forcing humanity to submit to Hydra's rule. The SSR captures Arnim Zola, who reveals the details of Schmidt's plan, which is to eradicate all the superpowers in the world.
His target is everywhere.
Time is running out, and Steve volunteers for a final mission that will likely cost him his life. Hydra's last base is situated in the Alps, hidden between mountain ranges, and Steve infiltrates the facility, aided by Peggy and Colonel Phillips. Inside, he fights through Hydra soldiers and confronts the Red Skull directly. Their battle reveals the core difference between them. Schmidt seeks power for domination, while Steve fights to protect others, even at the cost of his own life. During the struggle, the Red Skull mishandles the Tesseract. The artifact opens a portal of energy, consuming Schmidt and removing him from the battlefield. Steve realizes the aircraft cannot be safely landed as it is equipped with bombs powered by Tesseract energy. Faced with an impossible choice, Steve contacts Peggy by radio. In a quiet, heartbreaking exchange, they speak not as soldiers, but as two people who never got the chance to live the life they dreamed of. Peggy promises Steve a dance after the war, a promise fate will never allow them to keep. Steve crashes the bomber into the Arctic, preventing global destruction and sacrificing himself for the greater good. In the aftermath of the battle, we see Peggy going through Steve's file and gently caressing the photo of her beloved with love and sadness. But surprisingly, Steve does not die. Instead, he is preserved in ice for decades. When he awakens, he finds himself in a modern facility designed to resemble his old Brooklyn apartment. Faced by an imposter Peggy, he quickly realizes the facade and escapes the facility, stepping into present-day New York City. Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. approaches him, explaining that Steve has been asleep for nearly 70 years, and although the world has changed, it still needs heroes to protect itself. Thank you for watching. If you liked this recap, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And please don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel.